The definition of theory derived from and representative of particular facts, but those principles are not dependent upon the particular thing to be explained. Next is social of thought is the term that refers to a group of beliefs, ideas that support a specific theory or idea. Next is the psychological determinism. This explains the psychological determinants which define behavior of a person. Next is the ID. The ID follows the pleasure participants if required instant gratifical without concern for the rights of others. Next is the ego. The ego is that part of the personality that compensates for the demands of the ID by helping the individual guide his or her action to remain within the boundaries of social convention. Next is the superego. Superego developed as a result of incorporating within the personality the moral standards and values of parents, communities, and significant others. Next is the Oedipus complex is the stage of developing when began have a sexual feelings for their mother. Next is the Electra conflicts, a stage of developing when a girls have a sexual feelings for their father. Next is latency, begins at age 6. Feelings of sexuality are expressed until the genetical stage begin at puberty. They marks the beginning at adult sexuality. Fixed person exhibit behavior traits characteristic of those encountered during infantile sexual development, and in fact when other not receive enough oral gratification during the first year of life. Next is the neurosis, a common type of mental disorder used the explain criminal behavior, also referred to the hysteria and neura, neurasthenia. Psychosis is more serious type of mental disorder which can be organic function, psychotic. People lose contact with reality, have difficult distinguish reality for fantasy, impulse disorder, and excessive responsibility, desire to do or have something, an internal and irascible. Superego develops as a result of incorporating with personality the moral standard and value of parents, communities, and significant others. Next is the Oedipus complex. Is a stage developing when a male began have sexual feelings for their mother. Next is the Electra complex. Is a stage of development when girls began to have sexual feelings for their father. Latency begins at age 6. Feelings of sexuality or expressed until the genital stage began puberty and marks the beginning of adult sexuality. Fixed person exhibit behavior traits characteristics of those encountered during infantile sexual development. Next is neurosis. A common type of mental disorder to explain criminal behavior is to refer to as hysteria and neurasthenia. Psychosis. Psychosis is a more serious type of mental disorder which can be organic or functional. Psychotic people lose contact with reality and have difficulty distinguish reality their fantasy. Next is the impulse disorder, an executive or unreasonable desire to desire to desire to do or have something an irrational and irresistible. Next is the cultural transmission. The the concept that conduct normal are passes down from one generation from the next, so they become stable within boundaries of culture. Next is social bond. Tries a person have to institution and phrases of society according to her chief element. Those of social bond include commitment, attachment, involvement, and belief. Next is strain theory. holds the crime it's a function of conflict between the goals people have and the means they can use be legally obtain them. The the next is pattern 1. Individuals imitate others in proportion to the intensity and frequency of their contact. Second, invention inventors imitating superior. Next is the third is the pattern 3, which behavior patterns class others class others class others may takes the piece of the other.